you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, there are these things that makes it official. Welcome to the big show. As always, the Chris Voss Show is the family that loves you, but doesn't judge you, at least not as harshly as the rest of the world. But you know, you're here listening to podcasts, making your life better, making things better for yourself, achieving, getting things done. And if not, just keep listening to the podcast. There's more there. There's all sorts of people, wonderful guests we have on the show that help you improve the quality of your life, help expand your mind, give you different paradigms to look at. And, of course, there's some funny idiot who runs the hosting over here. So go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss1 on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. The opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. Today we have an interesting gentleman on the show. We're going to be talking about his ideas and concepts and maybe how we can change the world. It is a book that is out called FICS Fiat Inflationary Circulatory System, The Solution, by Ryan Riggs. And he's going to come tell us about how maybe we can build the life, politics, and economics maybe a little bit better. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we can all learn to get along. Nah, that's not going to happen. Anyway, Ryan Riggs is predominantly self-taught in a wide range of fields, including economics, law, politics, history, medicine, and quantum and theoretical physics. He holds 3 associate degrees in mathematics, science, liberal arts, and a computer information systems, followed by a Bachelor of Science in Management. Since then, he's conducted extensive personal research while working in various trades, including automotive, heavy equipment, operations, management, and construction. Welcome to the show, Ryan. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you doing, Chris?
I am doing excellent. It's good to have you. Welcome to the show. Give us your .coms. Where do you want people to check you out on the interwebs?
I'm on LinkedIn, and my book's available on Amazon. Eventually, I'm going to start a podcast at some point called Liberty Rhino Podcast. It's on X. It's Rhino, RHYNO. A little bit different than the regular Rhino. And that's pretty much it for right now. I guess I have an email. Best way for someone to get a hold of me, FICSSYSTEM@gmail.com.
And that's system.com? Was that what you had?
Yeah, so it's fixsystem.com. So,
fixsystem.com. I was going to say you got system.com. That's a
fixsystem at gmail.com. Yeah. So it's kind of the same thing. It's just you always get mixed up with that FICS, and then there's another S right after the Y. So
there's always an S after that Y, or there's not. I don't know what I'm trying to do a joke, and there's no joke there, Chris.
Yeah,
that's the funny part. Ryan, give us the 30,000 overview. What's inside this book?
So I came up with an idea. I thought, well, how can we make a system where we get rid of taxes? Because nobody likes taxes.
What?
Who likes taxes?
When did that start?
I guess there's some people out there just love taxes.
Just give me more. I just can never be fulfilled.
Especially business owners, right? They really love taxes.
Oh, yeah, entrepreneurs. Yeah,
yes, and the individuals love them as much, too. And, they say, okay, all your tax money is going to go to, this, that, roads, healthcare, this and that. And most of the time it goes to utter crap, really. And so I thought, what would they do if there was no taxes? How could we make a system where there was no taxes, but still provide the incentives, build, have free healthcare, housing, free education, all the subsidies that people need, just to survive in like the human nature, to thrive in an environment. And what kind of system would that look like? And so I thought we get to thinking about that. So I did a lot of research over about 10 years, figuring out, okay, how could we do this? And then I realized, our currency is based on a fiat system. So they're printing it out of thin air, basically. But then they're giving it to the banks. The banks are multiplying it by 10 times, or it's up to 900% once they loan it out to people, then get interest on that. And that's kind of how the system works today in the most simplest form. And I thought, why can't they just print their own money and just give it out they need to do? Well, then that causes massive inflation, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so how does our blood work in our body? This is where the circulatory system comes in. You know, you breathe in oxygen, it goes into your blood, and then it goes and feeds the rest of your body. What if an economic system could do something like that and keep circulating without having a spiral debt crisis or without having a massive hyperinflation like where things cost $10,000 for a loaf of bread or something like that? How can we hold that back? So my first thought, it was like, okay, let's do a trick of math. Say soda cost $1 and we wanted it to cost 10 cents. Let's drop to zero. Now it's 10 cents. What if we did that for the national debt? What if we did that for the currency itself, the redenomination? And we also did that for the bank accounts. So that way you're not losing your wealth because everything across the board costs the same as it did before. But the psychology is a little bit, you're not paying $20,000. Now you're paying $20, because you've dropped those zeros and everything goes equal. So that was where I started. Then here comes AI. Here comes robotics. Here comes cryptocurrency. And I was like, okay, wow. Trying to get something like that situated through Congress or any type of political system was going to be a nightmare. So I wrote the book originally as like a bill that could be passed through Congress, something that was bipartisan. You've got the Republicans really love low taxes. You got the Democrats love lots of subsidies. Both of them are happy. We should be able to bring that together. So that was my best way of putting it together. Say, okay, maybe this could actually work because it's somewhat bipartisan. But then here comes cryptocurrency, and I'm like, okay, maybe I can make if we can't get it through Congress, maybe I can make a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or something like that would use algorithms that would automatically implement the system, and then have governments get a hold of that coin, kind of like they're trying to buy Bitcoin now. And then that would automatically initiate the system.
Okay.
And then here comes AI. And now I'm really, and I realized even back then when I made this system, I knew that nobody's going to have a job in the future. We got robots, we got AI. They're going to be able to do anything a human can do. But the one thing that they can't do, at least not right away, they won't be able to own businesses. So I base the system where we get people who have the labor force turns into business owners. And then all we have to do is get the GDP equal to the amount of money that's printed. And if we can match that, you can print enough money to hold back inflation and still do that deflationary reevaluation of the currency by dropping a zero or dropping 5%, or maybe using AI to automatically regulate the inflation by redenominating the currency at that time. And as long as GDP matches the growth that we're getting, which with the AI revolution and robotics we got coming forth, you can gain like 15% of growth in 5 years. And in a 10-year plan I've been working on, you can literally get into this system, no more national debt, all the problems are solved, all the goals that this book has are solved, and there is no more taxation, no more fees. Everybody starts owning a business. I mean, we're looking at what I've figured here is probably maybe from about, build the military up to as strong as it needs to be, give free healthcare, free education, school choice, all the necessities that are basically the basic necessities of human nature and needs. Okay. And that's given to the people who need it. Only the people who need to be subsidized. People who are unemployed, don't have a business yet. And then it's capped there. So they still need to strive to be better, have that American dream, right? They got food, water, clean water. They got everything they need, a roof over their head. They're not laying on the streets, shooting up needles all day long. They are literally taken care of. And if they, want to survive and get bigger and thrive in their environment like human nature demands, then they will start a business and build from that. And then, so now you might think, they're printing all this money. So here you've got all this money being printed. That's too much money. Now it's going to cause inflation because now you've got massive supply problem because everybody's got money and they can't build the things fast enough to take the demand. So what you have to do is make sure that the growth of the economy is equal to the amount of money that they print. And as long as that is, it stabilizes prices. You don't have massive inflation. It's not hyperinflation. It doesn't go so fast. And then when that inflation does build up to a certain point to where it could be a problem, you cut a zero. You divide it by 5. Now, not only do you divide the amount of money they're printing, you divide the debt to the government by that. You divide your own debt by that. Say if you own $100,000 on a house, now you owe $10,000 on the house. If you have $1,000 in your bank, now you have $1,000 in your bank. If a Pepsi costs $1, now it costs 10 cents. So it's kind of like going back into the 50s, just by dropping the zero off of the money. Now, it can be divided by 5% depending on what an AI logarithm would do. And I'd be calling that a deflationary reevaluation. And that could happen multiple times quickly, especially in the beginning. But you see, I noticed that if you get rid of taxes, think about it. A company has to pay taxes on their employees. They pay taxes on the goods. They pay taxes on the raw materials and the fuel that they use to get those raw materials. And when it comes down the line, something that might cost $10 probably really only cost a penny, maybe 5 cents, because of so much taxes throughout the line, getting to that point to where the consumer's buying it, who's then now paying, now they're paying sales tax, and then then their own work, they're paying their normal taxes and their property taxes and so many other things. Once you drop those, you're going to get a massive deflation in the first place. So in the very beginning, it almost evens out because you drop all the taxes. Then after all the taxes are dropped, now that's causing a artificial deflation right away because now everybody can drop their prices because they're not having to pay taxes on it. And then you've also got the AI revolution. You got robots coming in that are going to be doing a job for 10 cents an hour instead of 50 to 60 bucks an hour in manufacturing. And then, so that's bringing down the prices. So now you have this opportunity to break into this system where you can print a lot of money without inflation going so fast that it can actually settle and even out. And once it's evened out, then you try to build that business-based economy instead of labor-based economy.
Interesting. So would you say this is a bit like, I know there's several different models that are out there. There's the University Basic Income model, UBI. There's Andrew Yang was talking about $1,000 a month to people. There's different variations. There's one called, I think it's UBI that I mentioned. Is it similar to those sort of ideas? Universal Basic Income?
I would call it the complete rival because this keeps capitalism to the height. I mean, everybody has a business at this point. You're not just giving out money to go sit on the couch. Innovation is driven because the only thing that's going to make somebody follow that American dream to succeed in their life is to innovate, make a better business, better quality, which also, you've got so many businesses now in this idea. Competition is everywhere compared to now. And universal basic income, where's that money coming from? Taxes. And so they're already taxing them to death as it is, which is just going to breed massive inflation. I mean, UBI is like a nightmare. I mean, I would rather have the robot revolution taking over than UBI. I mean, how is anyone going to get anywhere? I mean, that's basically communism in a way. How are you going to start a business with getting UBI? I mean, how it makes no sense to me. It looks like it's based to fail. Any type of UBI, or I mean, you might be able to stimulate the economy by giving some money to people, but to say, okay, now we have 90% of the workforce out of work, so now we're going to give everybody $1,000 a month. So it's like everyone's on Social Security. And I mean, how good are those guys doing on Social Security now? Not too. It's hard. Yeah, this is a lot more. Okay, let's make sure everybody's more in a middle class sense. And then anybody who wants to become stronger than a middle class, they better start their own business. And, the government can even subsidize, instead of giving $1,000 a month, let's subsidize the AI robots to start a business, 0% loans to businesses with legit ideas. And let's get them a robot to help them work out for $1,000 instead of $10,000 or $20,000. And that's how you're going to build this business-based economy so much faster.
So where does the Federal Reserve play in all of this?
There's two ways you can do it. You can just get rid of them altogether and have the system itself, through AI algorithms, and or you can utilize the Federal Reserve that's already in existence to do the printing of the money, but then they just need to change some of their rules on how to basically redenominate each time. Now, the system needs to have other countries involved in it to really work. I mean, there are ways to have exchange rates by looking through what the common price of things are versus the common price of another country who has not adopted FICS. However, it best works when the entire world and global economy meets the same, does the same thing. And we already kind of have a global economy, so it shouldn't be too hard to start some kind of legal pact between countries, because it's only going to benefit them too. I mean, they're going to get hurt by the revolution of the robots as well. I mean, this isn't going to be like the cotton gin. This isn't going to be like, cars taking away, bicycle riders and, things like that. It's not going to be like that. There's nothing a robot can't do in the next few years. I mean, there's nothing. And they're going to try to make laws, I'm sure. Oh, we can only have so many robots and you can only do this because you need to hire these many people. But that's putting a Band-Aid on this, and that's not a solution.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Well, what are your thoughts right now? It's March of 2020, April 1st of 2025. There's a lot of there's if you understand what's going on and who's behind it, there's a person who's gotten in the president's ear and told him that tariffs actually can work as a way to maybe solve some of the problems you're trying to solve in your book. How closely aligned is what they're doing to what you're doing, and maybe different?
Let's say the reason he's doing tariffs, he's trying to bring, he's trying to bring more wealth to the country. So he's trying to bring investment in the country. There were more jobs coming to the country, which unfortunately those jobs are going to turn into robot jobs eventually.
Yeah.
Pretty soon,
good
more
point,
than likely.
Actually, that's a really good point.
But it is investment in the country. And even if they do turn into robot jobs, it'll actually benefit this system to come into place, because the more we have manufacturing here increases our GDP. And like I was saying before, if your GDP increases, you can print more money, which solves more problems, which allows for the system to work. So in that sense, it'll benefit. But I haven't seen anybody come up with any solution necessarily to this AI robot revolution that's coming, that I think people don't realize it's coming in a year or two, not 10 years from now, not 20 years from now. They're talking about printing out, 500 million robots by 2027, 2028?
Yeah. I mean, just the AI and the amount of speed that it is tracking at, and it's adapting, we're seeing more and more its high quality ability to advance and adapt and adopt. I mean, it's just kind of crazy, the speed of it. I've been surprised by it. It caught me by surprise too. I mean, things that I was thinking about when I wrote this book, I knew that this would help in a robot revolution, but I was thinking, 30, 40 years in the future when I wrote it, maybe. But then all of a sudden, 10 years in the future, this is happening. I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah. And I mean, it's just astounding. I think OpenAI just came out with a new image model or something that's kicking ass and taking names, and it's freaking crazy.
Oh yeah. And
so, has this book changed? You wrote this book, I think, originally in 2017.
That's when I published it. I wrote it, started writing it in about 2014, but I ended up publishing it in 2017.
What was the proponent behind that? Why did you decide this is something you wanted to undertake?
There was two things. I did anticipate a robot revolution in the future. I did believe that AI was coming, and I hated taxes.
You hate taxes? I love taxes, on the other hand.
Yeah.
I mean,
you get a lot of that. No.
What's the old adage? What's the old adage in life? So, did Socrates say it? There's two constants, death and taxes. So, which reminds me, I need to invest in a funeral home. Death is the constant. You always have customers, evidently. So,
yeah. And
so you wrote the book. As much changed in your analyzation, your formula since 2017? Has much changed, or anything like
yes, quite a bit. And I was actually in the middle of trying to think about how I'm going to do a volume 2 of this, because so much has happened since 2014 and into 2017 that I got to write a whole nother version of this based basically on the robot revolution, because this book was basically written as how Congress could just pass a bill, could reform the economic system, could reform the political system to try to help, protect freedoms and liberties of everybody, at the same time being able to print as much money as they need to, because that was my biggest concern originally. It was like, okay, you give this much power to somebody who can just print money out of thin air and it's not checked. That could cause your liberties and freedoms to just be destroyed. And we've already kind of seen that with the Federal Reserve on how they got rid of the gold standard and everything. They're able to just kind of print money, and you could see some of the waste that they're showing right now in the new administration and stuff. It's okay. How did they get into all that? And it's because there's no checks there. And I had put in the book that they could do an independent, committee or something like that could hold it all together. But then you're trusting people. Then I was like, okay, then you have this basically constitution that says these people can't do these things. And it was all these restrictions just to try to save our freedoms. Mm-hmm. But the nice thing about now with AI and robotics coming in and, to be able to add that to this system, mm-hmm. the AI can do the checks and balances, which is nice, because you ain't going to go and bribe an AI. Hey, here's $100,000, send me, $1 million for Q-tips in Guatemala,
I've tried to bribe AI and it doesn't work. So
yeah,
it doesn't care about money because it doesn't need money. It
exactly. And it takes the human factor out of it. And in some places that's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But if all it's doing is calculating numbers, which is what computers have been doing forever anyways, mm-hmm. I don't see really the harm in it. It's not going to take over the military. It's not going to turn into Terminator,
Not yet. I mean, there's still time.
At least not in the economic system, it won't.
At least not in the economic system, it won't.
Yeah.
At least we hope not. So, you never know. I mean, AI it's really interesting, the whole aspect of it and potential and, what could go wrong, as Chris Voss likes to say during gaming.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, all the different aspects of it. So are you working on a book too then now?
Yeah, really, actually, what I'm actually balancing back and forth. Am I working on, because it's coming so fast? Mm-hmm. I'm more working on a 10-year plan, and it might turn into a book as well. But it's more of a 10-year plan on how to get our current situation into this system within 10 years, which it would take 10 years to do it smoothly. Yeah, could it just be done and turned on overnight? Yeah, but it'd cause mass hysteria. They're like, oh my God, what happened to this and that? And people just wouldn't understand it. Yeah, it needs to be a gradual change. And I think the AI and the robots will be a somewhat gradual change. Mm-hmm. But if it starts soon enough, then there is a 10-year plan that'll work that won't be so drastic that it, just shocks the system.
Yeah. And people have to have buy-in, they have to mentally understand what it is. I think even now there's so many people that they just don't understand how anything works. I mean, it's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
They have no understanding of the Federal Reserve, how it works, M1, M2 money policy and stuff. They just have no fucking clue. And yet they're voting on who they're electing without an understanding of how things work. I mean, they actually believe a president can really manage the economy or control the economy, and you're just like, seriously, how long have you guys been alive, paying attention? But someone who wants to be president, can just lie and just say, "Oh yeah, we'll give you everything when you elect me," and there'll be no taxes, there'll be no this, there'll be no that. Yeah, people need to really understand things for the buy-in and get to know it. But I mean, there's always, I like to say in business, there's always a better way to do anything. So there probably is definitely a better way out there. So as we go out, give people the final pitch to pick up your book. .com's where they can go, and ways they can onboard with you or reach out to you.
Okay. Yeah, so it's on Amazon. You can find it, the Fiat Inflationary Circulatory System, the solution. FICS is the main title. Mm-hmm. Basically, I'd just like people to get to know how it works and understand it, because it is a simplistic form in the book's very simplistic in explaining how it can work. Just like you said, it's real difficult for people to understand how things are working now. But when you get rid of everything else and you're like, okay, they're just printing the money, they're giving you the money, and then AI is regulating the inflation. I mean, that's kind of the most simplistic way to put it. So, yeah, I hope you guys come out and give it a read.
Any .coms and stuff that we want people to go to?
Like I said, I'll be starting a podcast at some point, Liberty Rhino, RHYNO, on X. So if you guys would like to follow me on X, that's where I'm at.
What is the Rhino referred to?
My name is Ryan, and I also do a little karaoke thing too, and we call it Rhino Karaoke.
Oh, Rhino.
So I do that for fun, and around where I live. So
that might be fun to put that into the AI image prompt and say, give me an image of a bunch of rhinos doing karaoke.
Oh yeah. In fact, I do that actually on some of the advertisements I do for when we do karaoke. So I got them doing all kinds of things, riding motorcycles, all kinds of stuff.
Oh, really?
Karaoke. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's helped on that one. Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, man.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. And thanks to our audience for tuning in. Order the book wherever fine books are sold. FICS Fiat Inflationary Circulatory System, the solution. We need more solutions and ideas in this world, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss. Chris Voss, one on the TikTok, all those crazy places. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.